They are everywhere. In every ocean, on every continent, across every era of human suffering. But you do not know them. We call them mermaids. We imagine beauty. We imagine grace. But the archive remembers a different face. A face that rises from the earliest civilizations on Earth. A face that hasn't changed, even as we have forgotten why we feared it. To understand this fear, we must return to the cradle of civilization itself, ancient Mesopotamia. Before the gods were given names, there was the water, and from that water, something came to shore that changed the course of human history forever. Not as a savior, but as an observer of our deepest vulnerabilities. In the dusty records of the Tigris and Euphrates, they spoke of Oannes. He was not a god from the stars, but a layered being, a man emerging from a fish's skin like a parasite. He rose from the Tigris to teach us writing, law, and math. Think of the horror of that first contact. A creature from the muck, wearing the skin of a beast, claiming to be our teacher. He lived among us by day, sharing forbidden knowledge, but at night he would always return to the dark, weightless world of the river. He taught us the foundations of our world, then slipped back into the void, taking our secrets with him. Was Oannes a survivor of a prehistoric era, or something from much further away, adapted to the crushing pressures of the deep? The archive suggests he was merely the first to show us that the water has eyes. Then came Atargatis, a goddess who loved a mortal and accidentally crushed the life out of him in a moment of unintended divinity. She tried to drown herself in her guilt, but the water would not take her. It transformed her. It trapped her mourning soul in a body built for a world that never sleeps. This wasn't a gift of immortality. It was a prison. The first true Siren was born of blood and regret, a biological mutation that would echo through the centuries as a symbol of the sea's pitiless memory. She became the patron of the submerged, a reminder that the ocean does not forgive mistakes, and it certainly doesn't forget the dead. Every scale on her tail was a fragment of a memory she could no longer escape. The Greeks refined the horror. To them, the Siren was not originally a creature of the tail, but of the wing. Birds with the faces of women, singing from the jagged rocks that lined the edges of the known world. They were the scavengers of the soul, lured by the sound of our own desire. Their song wasn't about beauty. It was about the absolute knowledge of everything that has ever happened on the salt-stained earth. They promised the truth, but they delivered only the silence of the shipwreck. Sailors would cast themselves into the waves, not for the woman, but for the answer. And the Sirens would watch, unblinking, as the water claimed what was left of the curious. It was a trade of life for a moment of clarity that could never be shared. By the Middle Ages, the wing gave way to the tail. The church didn't see a goddess or a bird, they saw a warning. A mirror held up to our own vanity and the temptations of the flesh. The mermaid became a theological weapon, a representation of the duality of human nature. Half human, half beast, a creature forever divided against itself. They carved these monsters into the very pillars of their holy places, from the cathedrals of France to the village churches of England. Why put a demon in a house of God? To ensure that no one forgot the abyss that lurks just beneath the surface of the spiritual world. The mermaid was the embodiment of the lust of the eyes, a beautiful face masking a cold, predatory reality that waited for the weak of heart to slip. The Melusine, with her double tail, was the most prominent of these warnings. She represented the hidden life, the secret sin that is only revealed when the door is locked. Legend says she was a woman of great beauty who became a serpent from the waist down every Saturday. Her story is one of broken taboos and the inevitable discovery of the monstrous. When her husband finally looked through the keyhole, he didn't find a wife. He found a biological anomaly bathing in a marble tub. These carvings were meant to remind the faithful that we are all, in some way, hybrids, struggling to keep our beastly halves submerged. If you look too long into the stone eyes of a Melusine, you might start to feel the scales growing on your own skin. It is a slow, cold realization of what we truly are. If you look too long into the water, you might see your own face staring back, with cold, unblinking eyes. These carvings weren't decorations, they were biological warnings. They knew something we have since chosen to forget. The monks who spent their lives in these stone halls understood that the sea is not just water. It is an ancient mind that predates our own. They saw the mermaid as the ocean's envoy, a creature that exists to lure the spirit back into the primordial soup. To them, the Siren's song was the sound of the world before man, a call to return to the weightless, thoughtless dark. Every grotesque face carved into a corbel was a testament to a struggle that has never truly ended, the struggle to stay human in a world that wants us to drown. Columbus saw them. Henry Hudson's crew saw them. They described faces that looked like men and tails like spotted porpoises. They weren't singing, they were watching. To the sailors of the Age of Discovery, these weren't myths or theological symbols. They were navigational hazards. Real, biological entities that shared the sea with them. They were the apex predators of an environment we could only visit. Christopher Columbus, writing in 1493, noted that they were not as beautiful as they are painted, although to some extent they have a human appearance in the face. He was looking at a creature adapted for survival, not for the male gaze. They were efficient, silent, and entirely alien. They followed the ships like sharks, waiting for a man to fall, not to save him, but to see what he was made of. Even the pragmatic Captain John Smith, the founder of Jamestown, reported a sighting in 1614. He saw a woman swimming with all possible grace, with large eyes, a finely shaped nose, and long green hair. He remarked that from the waist down, she gave way to a fish. This wasn't a hallucination born of scurvy, it was a professional mariner recording a biological encounter. These explorers were entering a world where the rules of the land no longer applied. They were moving through a liquid medium inhabited by creatures that had billions of years of head start on them. The mermaid was the ultimate proof that man was not the master of the earth, merely a temporary tenant on its dry edges. In the deep, something else has always been in charge. In the 1800s, the horror took a commercial turn. The Fiji mermaid, a grotesque fusion of a monkey torso and a fishtail, dried and displayed in P.T. Barnum's American Museum. It was a hoax, yes, a clever construction of bone and taxidermy, but it played on a very real fear, the fear of what might actually be possible in the dark. People paid to see the biological nightmare, not because they believed it was beautiful, but because they wanted to see the seams. They wanted to see where the human ended and the beast began. The hoax was a mirror for our own morbidity, a physical manifestation of our obsession with the boundary between us and the other. It served as a reminder that even in the age of science, the abyss still has a hold on our imaginations. We need the monster to define what it means to be normal. Why did we want to believe in the Barnum mermaid? Because if the hybrid existed, then the wall between our world and the abyss was thinner than we dared to imagine. It meant that the stories were true, that the sea could actually change us. We are fascinated by the transition, the moment of morphing. It reflects our own fear of losing control, of our bodies betraying us and returning to a state of nature that we can no longer understand. The Barnum hoax was a safe way to touch the void. It was a monster in a cage, a terror that we could walk away from. But the archive knows that the real monsters don't need cages. They don't need a museum. They are out there right now, moving through the currents, waiting for the next generation to forget they ever existed. In Japan, the Ningyo represented the ultimate price: immortality. This wasn't the eternal youth of Western myth, but a biological curse. If you eat the flesh of a Ningyo, you live forever. But your body does not stop aging. You become a prisoner of time, watching everyone you love turn to dust while you remain a fossil of a human being. The legend of the Happyaku Bhikkhuni, the 800-year-old nun, is a story of profound loneliness. She ate the mermaid's meat as a child and spent 8 centuries wandering the earth, her skin becoming like dried parchment, her eyes seeing too much of the world's decay. Immortality in the Japanese tradition is not a gift, it is the ultimate isolation. It is the mermaid's revenge on those who would try to steal its power. To live forever is to be as cold and as indifferent as the sea itself. Think of the nun, walking through the mist of 1,000 mornings, her memories a weight that no human mind was built to carry. She is a biological anomaly, a bridge between our world and the mermaid's eternity. Every step she takes is a reminder that we are defined by our endings. Without death, we are merely observers, lost in a world that has moved on without us. The Ningyo's meat doesn't just grant life, it strips away the humanity that makes life worth living. It turns a person into an archive, a silent, suffering record of everything that has been lost. The nun's unblinking eyes are the same as the mermaid's. They have seen the beginning and the end, and they find no comfort in either. She is the final proof that some forbidden truths are best left untasted. The Mami water of West Africa is a reflection of the ocean's duality, a spirit of wealth and beauty that is inextricably linked to the trauma of history. She is the mother of waters, a powerful entity that can bring prosperity or destruction with a single wave. But her image is also a reminder of the millions of souls lost during the Middle Passage, those who were reclaimed by the sea and transformed into the memories she guards. She is often depicted holding a serpent, a symbol of the dangerous knowledge that she possesses. To worship Mami Water is to acknowledge that the ocean is a graveyard as well as a source of life. She is a savior for the displaced and a predator for the greedy, a reflection of the tides that have shaped the African diaspora. Her beauty is a mask for the deep, submerged pain of centuries. Every piece of gold she offers is a fragment of a history that was forcibly taken. Mami Water exists in the space between the tides, a spirit that bridges the gap between the living and the ancestors who reside in the dark. She is the keeper of the lost, the one who receives the fallen when the world above has failed them. Her presence is a constant reminder that the water does not just hold salt, it holds the weight of our collective trauma. To look into her eyes is to see the reflection of 1,000 shipwrecks and the silent cries of those the ocean has claimed. She is the mermaid as a guardian of the truth, a biological and spiritual manifestation of a history that refuses to stay submerged. She is the ocean's way of saying that nothing is ever truly lost, only transformed. In the cold waters of Scotland and the Faroe Islands, the horror is one of captivity. The Selkies, seal people who can shed their skins to walk among us as humans, they are creatures of two worlds, belonging to neither. The tragedy of the Selkie is almost always a story of theft. A man finds a shed skin on the shore, hides it, and forces the Selkie to live as his wife. It is a biological imprisonment, a creature of the salt air trapped in the dry heat of a human home. They are dutiful, yes, but they always look toward the horizon with a longing that no human love can satisfy. Their children are born with webbed fingers, a physical sign of a heritage that cannot be fully suppressed. It is a story of the loss of self, of the part of us that belongs to the wild, dark water. When the skin is finally found, hidden in a chest or buried beneath the floorboards, the Selkie does not hesitate. They return to the water, leaving behind their human lives and even their children. It is an instinctive return to a state of being that is more real to them than anything on land. They dive back into the cold, dark world from which they emerged, reclaiming their true nature at the cost of everything they have built above. It is a reminder that we can never truly domesticate the sea. We can try to trap it, to name it, to build our homes beside it, but the water always calls its own back. The Selkie's departure is a silent judgment on our desire to own what was meant to be free. They are the mermaid as a symbol of the wildness that still lurks within us all. And in the Amazon, the Yara, the Lady of the Waters. She is the ultimate predator of the rainforest, a woman of intoxicating beauty who lures men into the deep, dark rivers. But she doesn't use a song. She uses the promise of a world where the sun never burns. She offers a world of silence, weight, and cool, green shadows. To follow the Iara is to seek a home that is older than the forest itself. Those who are taken are never seen again, but the legends say they live on in her underwater palace, forgetting their names and the lives they left behind. It is the final allure of the mermaid, the promise of total forgetting, a return to the primordial state where the individual is lost in the collective dark of the water. She is the forest's way of reclaiming what belongs to the earth. The mermaid is not a fairy tale. It is a mirror held up to the abyss and given a human face. It is our way of giving a name to the vast, cold indifference of the sea. Throughout history, we have seen her as a goddess, a monster, a warning, and a hoax. But she is all of these things, and none of them. She is the biological manifestation of our fear of the unknown. The sea is the one place where we are genuinely out of our depth, a world that covers most of our planet, but remains entirely alien to us. The mermaid exists in the transition, in the space between the air we breathe and the water that would kill us. She is the physical proof that we are not alone on this blue marble, and that the history we think we know is only a thin layer on the surface of something much deeper. The archive remains open, but some secrets are better left submerged, until the water rises again, until the next face appears in the surf, reminding us of the weight that pulls at our heels. This has been Chapter 1 of the Aquatic Abyss. We will be watching, we will be waiting, and the archive will remember everything. Good night for now. Keep your eyes on the horizon, but never forget what is swimming just beneath your feet. The tide is coming in, and the truth is never far behind. The end is just another beginning in the dark. Silence is our only witness.